Можно, и я никогда не отказывался от этого, если эта встреча хорошо подготовлена и будет вести к каким-то позитивным возможным результатам. Кстати говоря, Дональд попросил меня, если возможно, провести такую встречу. Я сказал, да, это возможно. Ну, в конце концов, если Зеленский готов, пусть приезжает в Москву. Такая встреча состоится.
This is my video update on this Thursday afternoon, September the 4th, coming to you from Athens, Greece. Let's talk about some news. And let's start things off with Putin's press conference in Beijing, where Putin answered a lot of questions from reporters. He covered all kinds of topics from the multipolar world, China, India, Trump, tariffs and sanctions, Project Ukraine, of course, the invitation for Zelensky to visit Moscow, the invitation for Trump to visit Moscow. He talked about Witkoff. He talked about the power of Siberia. He got a question about Ukraine entering the EU. Putin covered a lot of ground in the press conference yesterday, which was done in a very, very beautiful location, actually, this press conference. Very, very nice location for the Russian president to take questions from reporters. So he talked about the Trump tariffs, secondary sanctions against Russia's trading partners. And Putin said that this is just a way for the U.S. Trump administration to use Ukraine as an excuse to place sanctions on China and India, specifically India. The Trump White House is going after India, and they're using the excuse of Ukraine and Russian oil in order to place tariffs and sanctions on India, whether it's the 100% Trump secondary tariffs on India or Lindsey Graham's bone-crushing 500% secondary tariffs on India and China, but more so India than China. Anyway, Putin, he said that all of this Ukraine secondary sanctions, buying Russian oil, it's just an excuse. It's just an excuse for the United States to get into some sort of a trade war with BRICS countries, with Russia's partners. That was what Putin said about that. He said some very interesting things about Project Ukraine and about how Russia in 2022 they had a deal with the Zelensky regime, and the war would have been over. The special military operation would have concluded after just a couple of weeks. Ukraine had agreed to a deal, and then Putin, I believe is this the first time that Putin has said this? I know that other Russian officials have talked about this, but Putin said that the collective West, they pretty much told Russia that Ukraine is going to fight. And they sabotaged the 2022 agreement that Russia had reached with Ukraine. And Russia, he said, even pulled out its forces from Kiev and other areas. Here is what Putin said. During a press conference in China, Putin said that shortly after the escalation of the conflict in 2022, Moscow urged Kiev to respect the choices of people living in southeast Ukraine and withdraw its troops from the region. This would have ended the conflict immediately, he noted. The Russian president stated that these demands were not rejected outright by Ukrainian authorities. However, after Moscow withdrew its own forces from around Kiev at the insistent calls of our Western European colleagues, the situation changed completely, Putin said. After the troops were pulled back, we were told almost verbatim, now we will fight until You twist off our heads, or we will twist off yours, Putin recalled. I don't remember whether I ever said this publicly or not, but it sounded something like this, only in more crude terms, but quite openly, and, as strange as it sounds, in a comradely way. Now it's either you or us. The European West. He's very careful in the words he chooses, huh? He doesn't say the United States, he says the Western European colleagues. They're the ones that told the Russian president that they're going to twist off Russia's heads, or Russia is going to twist off their heads. Now we will fight until you twist off our heads, or we will twist off yours. That's what he said they told him. And he said it was even more crude than that. I do believe it's the first time that Putin has revealed this, if Putin is to be believed. Anyway, Putin was asked about the Russian military that is fighting in a special military operation, and what they think about getting to some sort of a negotiated peace. And Putin said that the Russian military that is fighting, what they want is to achieve the goals of the special military operation. And Putin said that if this is achieved diplomatically, which he said would be a better outcome to get to the goals of the special military operation via diplomacy, that would satisfy the Russian military. But if we can't get that, if we can't get to the goals of the special military operation, Putin said, diplomatically, then he said that Russia would achieve these goals militarily. So that is what he said when he was asked about how the Russian military and the Russian soldiers on the front line feel about the negotiations, the diplomacy, everything that is taking place at the moment. Putin did say, once again, that he does see light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to the negotiations that are taking place between Russia and the United States. So that's what he said about that. We are getting reports from the front line from Kupiansk that Russia is now in control of half of the city center of Kupiansk, which is exactly how Gerasimov explained everything in his update from 2 days ago. So everything that Gerasimov was saying in his update from a couple of days ago appears to be playing out on the front lines. By the way, Lavrov, he also put out a statement 2 days ago, and he said that to achieve lasting peace, inclusion of Crimea, Donbass, and Novorossiya into Russia must be recognized at an international level. And I take it that Lavrov is talking about the entirety of these regions as is recognized in the Russian constitution. I don't think he's talking about a freeze on the current contact lines, but this is Lavrov saying that in order to get to a lasting peace, the international community has to recognize these regions as Russia, which is something that is unacceptable, not only for the Zelensky regime, but is going to be unacceptable to the Europeans and even to the United States. There's no way that the Trump administration or any U.S. administration, at least in the short term or even medium term, will be able to officially recognize the new territories as part of the Russian Federation. Anyway, that is what Lavrov said a couple of days ago. Let's get back to Putin's statements. He said that Zelensky is invited to Moscow. He has an invitation to Moscow if he wants to talk about some sort of a negotiated resolution to the conflict in Ukraine. It's a path to nowhere to just meet. Let's put it carefully, the de facto head of the Ukrainian administration. It's possible. I've never refused to if such a meeting is well prepared and would lead to some potential positive results, Putin stated in a response to a question on whether he planned to meet Zelensky. Putin is ready to host Zelensky in Moscow. Such a meeting, however, must have a meaningful agenda, the Russian president has said. Notice how he refers to Zelensky in this statement as the de facto head of the Ukrainian administration. Interesting choice of words. So look, Zelensky, if he wants to discuss the conflict, if he wants to talk about what's going on in the conflict, he has a ticket to Moscow if he so chooses. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry, they have rejected these statements from the Russian president. The Foreign Minister of Ukraine, Mr. Andrei Shibainu, he said right now at least 7 countries are ready to hold a meeting between leaders of Ukraine and Russia to bring an end to the war. Austria, the Holy See, Switzerland, Turkey, and 3 Gulf states. These are serious proposals, and President Zelensky is ready for such a meeting at any point of time. Yet Putin continues to mess around with everyone by making knowingly unacceptable proposals. Only increased pressure can force Russia to finally get serious about a peace process. So it looks like Zelensky's not going to be traveling to Moscow. Oh well, anyway, there's an invitation for Trump to visit Moscow, Putin said. He said that Trump is absolutely welcome to visit Moscow, but he noted that there has been no reply from the U.S. president, and there are no preparations for a Trump visit to Moscow. Putin also came out in defense of Witkoff. The collective West media, they've been going after Witkoff, saying that he's not doing a good job in his role as envoy for Russia and Ukraine. And Putin said that's BS. He said that Witkoff is doing a good job. And what Witkoff is saying as to the media, what he's saying to the media about what's going on between Russia and the United States, he said that it's accurate. He said that Witkoff is explaining the negotiation process between Russia and the United States accurately. So Putin came out in defense of Witkoff. Putin also talked about the power of Siberia too. He got some questions about the deal with China for the second pipeline, which will transit via Mongolia. And Putin revealed that the pricing will be based on what's happening in the markets. Speaking to journalists in Beijing on Wednesday, Putin said the 2 countries had reached consensus on the deal structure, reportedly the largest gas project on Earth. This is not charity. We're talking about mutually beneficial agreements based on market principles, he stated. So that is definitive confirmation from the president of Russia that this deal is going forward. There were some doubts in the collective West media if there really was going to be a power of Siberia too. Some people were saying that this is just a memorandum of understanding and this is not a real deal. But when the Russian president is saying that this thing is going to happen and it's going to be based on market pricing and stuff like that, then you know that China and Russia have come to an agreement to move forward with the power of Siberia 2, which according to Bloomberg is going to shake up the LNG market. It's going to shake up U.S. LNG exports, and it's going to crush Europe. Although Chinese officials did not immediately comment. Bloomberg noted that the ties binding Russia to its most important consumer have undoubtedly tightened. The proposed Power of Siberia 2 pipeline could be operational by 2030. Combined with other increases, Russia could displace up to half of the more than 40 million tons of LNG China currently imports each year, including from the US, Bloomberg estimated. Given that China is the largest importer of LNG, this would turn the LNG market on its head. Analysts at AB Bernstein, a Wall Street research and brokerage firm, wrote in a note cited by the outlet, for LNG projects that are still being contemplated, this would be a big negative. The pipeline from Russia to China is going to further solidify the alliance between China and Russia. That's what pipelines do. Gas pipelines, they connect countries in ways that sometimes military alliances cannot even do. And the only way to break that connection that pipelines create is to blow them up, right? Remember when Scholz, back in September of 2022, when Olaf Scholz, the pirate Scholz. I miss that guy, Pirate Scholz. I liked him a lot more than Mertz. Anyway, remember when Pirate Scholz, back in August, September of 2022, was starting to get cold feet about Project Ukraine and sanctions on Russian energy? Remember that? And then Gilligan, for some strange reason, along with the professor and Marianne, and Sergei, right? They decided to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline, leaving Scholz with no other excuses when it came to sanctioning Russia and breaking off Germany's energy ties to Russia. Only the destruction of a pipeline can break up the connection that energy pipelines create between two countries. The good thing with Power of Siberia 2 is that pipeline is going to run through Russia via Mongolia and into China. So there's going to be no Andromeda yachts for Gilligan in this scenario. So is there anything else that Putin said during this press conference? Oh, he was asked about Mertz. He was asked about BlackRock Mertz, since we're on the topic of Germany. Mertz, he said some very, very nasty stuff about Putin. He called Putin a war criminal. And what else did BlackRock Mertz say? He called Putin a war criminal, which is nothing new for the collective West. They're constantly calling Putin a war criminal. He also said that the collective West needs to exhaust Russia. That's how they're going to defeat Putin. 1 second, let me pull it up. Speaking during a press conference on Wednesday, so Putin was asked about Mertz's comments, and this is what Putin said. Speaking during a press conference on Wednesday, Putin said, "I think that Mertz's remark was an unsuccessful attempt to absolve himself, maybe not himself personally, but his country and the collective West, of the responsibility for the tragedy that is currently unfolding in Ukraine." Mertz told broadcaster Sat1 that Putin was perhaps the most serious war criminal of our time, expressing skepticism over Moscow's readiness to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. "We simply have to be clear about how to deal with war criminals. There is no room for leniency," the German chancellor stressed. Mertz called on the West to ensure the economic exhaustion of Russia, arguing that by imposing tariffs on nations trading with Moscow, Kiev's backers, could make the Kremlin more willing to compromise. Wow. Them fighting words from BlackRock Mertz, huh? Yeah, Schultz was better. Schultz was much better than BlackRock Mertz, man. Wow. Anyway, Schultz got the ball rolling. Well, Angela Merkel got the ball rolling on Germany's destruction. Schultz kept it going, and Mertz has been put in place to finish the job. Russian intel is saying that Mr. Mertz, he's been ordered to hide the delivery of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. This is what Russian foreign intel is saying, according to recent reports from Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service. German Chancellor Merz has ordered the concealment of Germany's involvement in supplying long-range Taurus cruise missiles to Ukraine. Russian intel is saying that Germany, they are removing factory markings and replacing certain components on the missiles to obscure their origin. So that is what Merz is ordering the German military, the Germans arms dealers to do when it comes to the Taurus missiles. We've been saying this on the Duran for a while now, and there are reports that the Sapsan that Ukraine was going on and on about, which was allegedly manufactured in Ukraine, that the Sapsan was nothing more than a rebranded Taurus missile, which the Russian military blew apart a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, Russian foreign intel, if you believe Russian foreign intel, they're saying that Merz actually gave the orders to hide the delivery of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. I believe Merz, in a statement that he made 3 months ago, I think he even said that Germany is not going to talk about what weapons they're sending to Ukraine. They're going to keep everything hidden. Where under Schultz, much of the weaponry that was sent to Ukraine was not so hidden. Some of it was hidden, but Schultz would announce a lot of the weapons deliveries that were going to Project Ukraine. Anyway, Merz came in and he said no more announcing the weapons that were going to be delivered from Germany to Project Ukraine. So it makes sense that Merz would want to hide missile deliveries, especially Taurus missile deliveries, to Project Ukraine. Of course, with the Taurus missile deliveries, you have to get the approval of the United States because a lot of the component parts are American and they need American approval before being sent to Ukraine, which I don't think would be that much of a problem. But you also need NATO and German military personnel to fire those missiles. So anyway, that is what Russian foreign intel is telling us. And before we get to the Paris coalition of the willing meeting that is taking place today, the U.S. NATO ambassador, the U.S. NATO ambassador, what a ridiculous position. Anyway, Mr. Whitaker, he is having a freaking panic attack after the parade in China. Yeah, Whitaker, he went on Fox News, of course. They're all going on Fox News anyway. Whitaker, he went on Fox News to say that China can't fight the U.S. because they stole U.S. weapons technology. Whitaker said that China can't and couldn't fight the United States if they tried. You know, we are the only world superpower with the biggest, strongest economy. Yeah, you keep on telling yourself that, Mr. Whitaker. Yeah, you saw what all of us saw in that parade during that parade in Beijing. We saw it. We saw the weapons that China was showcasing, and And that freaked out the United States. It freaked out Trump, freaked out the Trump administration. It freaked out guys like Whitaker. So he had to go on Fox News and say that these weapons were stolen by China. Wouldn't you figure? Oh man, hypersonic technology was stolen by Putin when he was meeting with Obama, according to Trump. Right? Remember that one? Yeah. Putin was sitting with Obama, and then when Obama went up to use the bathroom, Putin stole the hypersonic missile plans. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter because Trump, when he made the statement about hypersonic missiles and how Putin stole those plans from Obama, he said that the United States, they have super hypersonic missiles.
You know, China, I will note, I mean, most of the military equipment they demonstrated in this parade was technology most likely stolen from the United States or our allies. And, you know, they couldn't fight the United States if they tried. You know, we are the only world superpower with the biggest, strongest economy. And that's what we need to continue to do. We need to continue to invest in our defense.
So let's talk about the Coalition of the Willing meeting that is going to be taking place today in Paris. That's right, the Coalition of the Willing. As long as the United States goes first into Ukraine, then they're going to be a very willing coalition to follow the United States. So they are having this meeting today where Macron met with Zelensky. They hugged. Of course, they hugged. Hey, Mr. Macron, come here, give me a big hug. And they spoke to the media. And Macron, he said that France is ready to send troops to Ukraine on the day a peace deal is signed. Once that peace deal, that ceasefire is signed, then Macron said that the French troops, they're in Ukraine, man. But first, the deal has to be signed. We Europeans are ready to offer security guarantees to Ukraine and its people on the day a peace deal is signed, Macron said following a meeting with Ukrainian leader Zelensky in Paris on Wednesday. The contributions prepared, documented, and confirmed this afternoon at the level of defense ministers in an extremely confidential manner allow me to state that the preparatory work is complete, he added, without specifying the details. We are ready for a robust peace and a lasting peace for Ukraine and for Europeans, Macron said. Not for Russia, for Ukraine and for Europeans. That is what Macron said. So Europe is ready. France is ready. They're going into Ukraine on the day that a deal is signed. No deal signed, no European or French troops in Ukraine, according to Macron. And you know, Zelensky, he caught on to this. You gotta give the Green Goblin some credit. He caught on to this, and his response to Macron was that the coalition of the willing looks theoretical so far. He's right. Zelensky's right, man. I don't agree with Zelensky often, but this time, yeah, he's right. It's all theoretical, isn't it, Mr. Macron? Oh, yeah, it is, Mr. Zelensky. It's pretty much theoretical. Believe me, when that deal is signed between you and Putin, we're going in. That means this deal is theoretical, eh? Yeah, yeah, theoretical. So that's what Zelensky said. Macron's approval ratings, according to the latest French poll, they are at the lowest level in, I believe, in French presidential history. Man, they are in the freaking toilet. I believe the approval rating for Macron is at 15%. 15% of the French people polled back Macron. You're telling me that there are 15% of the French population that still back this guy? That's pretty incredible, man. That is pretty freaking incredible. Oh man, 80% of the people polled don't trust Macron. They have zero trust in the flip-flopper little Napoleon. But there he is, chairing a meeting of the coalition of the willing. Man, there are so many bees buzzing around me. Wow. Anyway, I'm gonna get stung. So that is Macron's approval ratings. Someone else who has dismal approval ratings, I believe he's at 11%, is none other than 008 Keir Starmer, who has now announced that another 1 billion GBP has been given to Zelensky in military aid. But no need to worry, citizens of the UK. That money is being backed by the Russian frozen assets. That's right. Another billion to Zelensky from the backed by the proceeds from interest on the Russian frozen assets. Yeah. There's going to be no Russian frozen assets when all of this is said and done. Just like in the movie Dumb and Dumber, Russia's going to say we want our frozen assets back, and Ursula is going to give Putin a suitcase. Ursula and Kaya, right? Like in the movie Dumb and Dumber, they're going to give Putin a suitcase. They're going to say, "Look, we're good for it. We told you we're good for it. Your assets are safe. They've been safe at Euroclear. Here you go." In the form of IOUs, and Putin's going to open up the suitcase. It's going to be all IOUs. IOU. There's going to be no money in there. It's just going to be IOUs. Yeah, those assets are gone, man. They are freaking gone. They're either gone, or what's happening is that the European Union and the EU, they're just taking loans. They're just getting into more and more debt using the Russian frozen assets as collateral. This is going to be a freaking train wreck when Russia gets that money back, when they go to court and the court rules that money has to be given back to Russia. It is going to spell trouble for the collective West. Medvedev, he responded to the announcement from the UK of the 1 billion going to the Zelensky regime. And Medvedev said on Telegram via translation, he said, well, this means one thing. British thieves have handed over Russian money to neo-Nazis. The consequences, Britain has committed an offense, and Russia has, as lawyers say, a claim against it and the current Banderite Ukraine. But considering these funds cannot be recovered through legal proceedings for obvious reasons, our country has only one way to reclaim the assets: to return what was seized in kind, that is, with Ukrainian land and other real estate and movable property located on it. I am obviously not talking about the lands on the new Russian regions. They are already ours. I disagree with him where he says that Russia is not going to be able to claim these assets using legal proceedings. I believe Russia is going to take a legal route in trying to claim these assets, and in claiming these assets, and they're going to take the collective West to every court on planet Earth in order to get these assets back. So I don't agree with him on that point. But Medvedev is saying, you know what, instead of going to court, we'll just continue to advance in the special military operation. So that's what Medvedev said. And Trump, he gave an interview to CBS, a phone interview to CBS, and he was asked about Project Ukraine. Trump didn't say anything new, to be quite honest, in this interview. He said that he thought this was going to be an easy one to solve because he actually believed the nonsense that people like Kellogg were telling him, that they would just be able to freeze the conflict on the front line and threaten Russia, and Russia was going to roll over and it was going to be solved very easily. So Trump actually believed Keith Kellogg, and now he's in a massive hole. He's boxed himself in. But anyway, he said he thought it was going to be an easy problem to solve. He said it's not so easy. And he said he's just going to give it time now. That's what he's going to do. He's going to give it time. He said the two sides are not ready for negotiations. He thought he was going to be able to bring Putin and Zelensky together, but that's not working out. And he also said that the way he solves wars, the way he gets to peace, and he said that he's solved 6 or 7 wars to date. Anyway, that can be disputed, obviously, but he said that he solved seven wars, and the way he's done it is by bringing the leaders together face to face in a room, and then they managed to work things out. So he thought he was going to use the same strategy with Project Ukraine. He also said that the parade in China, the military parade in China, and Putin and Kim and Xi being at this parade, and all the images that were broadcast from the parade, it was all being done in order to send him a message, in order to make him watch what was happening in China. In other words, what Trump was saying, what he told CBS, is that everything that we saw in Beijing was all about him, which was an interesting comment from Trump. He said, "I understand the reason they were doing it. They were hoping I was watching, and I was watching," Trump said. "My relationship with all of them is very good. We're going to find out how good it is over the next week or two." Okay, so that was his statement with regards to the military parade. Trump also hosted the president of Poland, Nawrocki, and he said that the U.S. military is going to remain in Poland. So he said there's no fears of the U.S. military pulling out of Poland, and that made Nawrocki very happy. By the way, Poland wants to be included in the G20, the group of G20, and Poland is lobbying the United States so that they can include Poland in the G20. We're also getting news, since we're talking about military in Poland, we're getting news from the New York Times that Germany is now trying to convince Poland to allow German troops in Poland in order to protect Poland from Russia. German troops in Poland. That is what the New York Times is reporting. Duda was also on some sort of a podcast or something. The former president of Poland, da is all I want to say to you, Mr. Walk on the Wild Side, Duda. And he said that he admitted that when he was president of Poland, Zelensky tried to get Poland into a war with Russia. And he said that Zelensky was doing that with tricks like the missile that Ukraine fired, and it landed in Poland, and it actually killed a couple of Polish farmers. Zelensky was saying that missile was fired by Russia into Poland, and Duda said that it was a Ukraine missile that landed in Poland. But anyway, Zelensky was trying to bait Poland into some sort of a conflict with Russia by making claims that Russia was firing missiles into Poland. The message that was coming from Duda, I don't know if he realizes this, but the message that I got from Duda as he was making this admission was that Zelensky is very dangerous, man. Zelensky, fearing that he's going to lose power, will do just about anything, including World War III, including a NATO war with Russia, in order to preserve his position. Anyway, that was Duda's admission. And what else should we discuss before we get into a clown world? There are reports which claim that Nawrocki, the president of Poland, has removed the EU flag from his office. If this is true, then job well done. The EU requires that countries that are in the European Union, that wherever their flag is flying, at least in government and administrative buildings, wherever the EU flag is, like you can see the Greek flag right there, but this is a church, not a government building. But if you have the flag, if you have your flag, then you also have to have an EU flag next to it. And that's a requirement from the European Union. The reports are that Navrosky said, take this EU flag down. Take this flag down. The only flags we're going to have in my office are going to be Polish flags. Right on, Navrosky, I agree. I absolutely agree with that policy. Oh, what else? Trump said that the U.S. Navy is blowing apart cartel ships. A ship in the Caribbean was blown apart, he said, by the U.S. Navy. We actually have video of this as well. The worrying part about this is that Trump, in his statement, he said that these ships are coming from, these cartel ships are coming from Maduro. So this is worrying news. It means that the United States is getting very close to taking action against Venezuela. Troubling announcement from Trump. Something is going to happen with Venezuela. Something is going to go down. Anyway, let's do some clown worlds. So Zelensky was in Denmark, and he was meeting with the Prime Minister of Denmark, Mette Frederiksen, and photos were released of the meeting between the two of them, and it looked very friendly. Looked like a date more than anything else, man. There's photos of them in a cozy, like a cozy cottage or something, sitting at a table, the two of them having a nice dinner or a nice drink. Zelensky got dressed up for the meeting with Frederiksen. She announced that there's going to be a factory, a weapons factory, built in Denmark. The way they're announcing this is they're saying that Ukraine is building a factory in Denmark, which is a load of bollocks. Ukraine is building a weapons factory in Denmark. Come on, who you guys trying to fool? A factory that's going to be built by Denmark, funded by Denmark, operated by Denmark, but it's going to be a Ukraine factory located in Denmark. Okay, whatever you want to go with. Anyway, that's what they're saying, a Ukraine factory in Denmark. It's going to be making fuel for rockets or something like that. And then it's going to be shipping that fuel to Ukraine, where the Russian military will blow up whatever shipments arrive in Ukraine. An admission from NATO and the collective West that it's getting very dangerous to build factories in Ukraine like they were planning to make Ukraine the Silicon Valley of weapons production, right? That's what they were talking about that's what they've been talking about for the past 3 years, but now Russia is blowing up every military factory that NATO has built in Ukraine. So now they're offshoring it, right? They're moving it to places like Denmark and Bulgaria, etc. Anyway, she also said that she's going to be keeping an eye on Russia and China. She's going to be protecting Zelensky by keeping an eye on Russia and China. That is what the Prime Minister of Denmark said. And then they had a nice talk on a porch, sitting on the stairs of a porch. Very intimate, right? Zelensky and Frederiksen. It's the Zelensky number 5. It's the Zelensky number 5, everybody. It always works, that Zelensky number 5. Kaya Kallas, she made a statement yesterday, and anything that Kaya Kallas says now is just automatically categorized in the clown world segment. She made a statement yesterday where she said that, what did Kaya Kallas say? She said that the SCO that took place in China, the Shanghai Cooperation event, and the images that we saw from the military parade in Beijing is a direct challenge to the international system built on rules. That's a quote. It's a direct challenge to the international system that was built on rules. You know, those rules that the international system was built on. Anyway, she's saying this is a direct challenge, and she's ready. She's ready to to lead Europe in its fight against China and Russia. So is everyone ready to follow Kaja Kallas into this war, into this fight? Let me know in the comments down below. Kaja Kallas is ready to lead. Are you ready to follow? Stunning and brave. And finally, one more clown world, courtesy of GB News, which is saying that Boris Johnson is frustrated with Britain's migrant crisis and the Ukraine war, but above all, he is frustrated that he is no longer prime minister. In other words, Boris wants another go at being prime minister of Britain. Yeah, didn't work out so well the first time. Why not give it another shot, huh? There's no one else in the UK? No one else? We have to go back to Boris? And then are we going to also recycle Liz Truss in there and Rishi Sunak? Is that how this is going to work? Anyway, Boris Johnson wants to be prime minister again. That's what this article is hinting at. So I think I will wrap up the video there. I do want to say thoughts and prayers to Portugal, because there was this devastating tragedy that took place in Portugal, which has left 15 people dead and many people injured when a streetcar, I believe it's a streetcar called the Gloria line in Lisbon, crashed. It crashed as it was going down the hill, and the images are horrific. And anyway, to the people of Portugal, our thoughts are with you. That's the video, everybody. Share this video, like this video. theduran.locals.com. I will see everyone tomorrow. Take care.